blue.
Hey, this was not for Kentucky. My wife was a Kentucky fan, and I got to work, and she goes, and she called me about 10 o'clock, and she goes, that's it.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. She'll be out here right after this.
I figured she'd send you a thank you.
At 9:05, I'm in a motion to recess.
Oh, see, it's a technical difficulty we're waiting on.
She was the one hurrying us.
At 9:05, I'm in a motion to recess until tomorrow.
Until tomorrow.
I was thinking about doing it at 8:50 so I could get home by 9:10.
Oh, brother.
I'm sure I'm surprised our neighbors haven't called the police on us. Our house sounds like Nahan Fieldhouse. I mean, it's just screaming, hollering, jumping up and down.
My brother.
It's crazy.
I don't watch the games at home.
You know, Cole, Sarah ever met with the neighbors on their arbors?
I saw on TV, on the run.
How we doing over there, ladies?
Vendors in Jazz. They're going into side streets or something.
What?
I saw it on the news.
Said there wouldn't be?
There would be, but they're not going to, but they're going up side streets, they're not going here, so maybe he can tell us.
I'm sure that'll be interesting.
Well,
we asked them about that, and they said nobody wanted to do
I think he
that.
said they were going to do it, because they got to...
It's the only place.
That should not be an issue. It's not in front. I don't have a problem with it either.
What,
It's 1 day.
trash? What we do? We got
Well, that's said that at a meeting and they jumped all over me.
I don't know if you were in. Well, you gotta have food, you gotta have the drink. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe most people will come. Tell people ahead of time, bring your own water, bring your own drinks, whatever. Bring your own sandwiches.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, they're probably set up tomorrow.
Call to order the council meeting for April the 7th. Can we have an invocation? Mr. Samuel?
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We pray that you would be with the business of the city as we discuss it. We pray that you would continue to bless Jeffersonville and our businesses and our families and our employees. Thank you for the way you blessed us, and pray this prayer through your son's name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Nathan. Can we get a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Councilperson Smith. Councilperson Sestopny.
Here.
Councilperson Payne. Councilperson Sellers. Here. Councilperson Gill. Here. Council President Julius.
Here.
Councilperson Glover.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect there are 8 council members present.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes to be approved for March 17th.
I had called in or emailed into our clerk, and I believe it was on the bottom of page 5. There was the wrong ordinance was listed, or no, it said on the second and final reading. They changed it to third. And then on the top on the page 6 under new business number 1, I believe it was. Is that right? The ordinance didn't match up, the numbers, and so it was just a clerical thing. So those are the changes that I've mentioned on the email.
And they're in your packet.
If there are no other changes, motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Claims. Amy?
In addition to what was in your packet, I do have 2 hand-carried claims. One is for our property and casualty insurance. We just got the bill on Friday. It's $278,000, $612.94. And we also have a hand carry for National Night Out Trivia for $120.
I was in Amy's office Friday about the big bill, and I was like, wow. So, anyway, I told her to hand carry it here today.
What's the new total, Amy?
$1,261,369.08.
8 or 80?
8.
Motion to approve.
Second. Got it written down.
I have a question. As compared to last year, is that an increase?
It is.
How much for that in the insurance?
It increased, I think it increased sometime in 2013, but it was, I would say 30% roughly more.
Really?
There was a big cleanup. We had properties and vehicles that weren't insured and things like that, so we got it all cleaned up last year. That's the quarterly amount.
Did we have a second?
Yes, I did.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
Report of the clerk.
None at this time.
I knew that.
We do that.
We have department head reports. Chief Grimm?
Thank you all for having me this evening. I just have one for approval, reference to the travel ordinance I need to get. We're sending, our honor guard was invited by the National Police Memorial to attend Police Week in May to honor our fallen officer Drury. It only took 69 years to get him on the wall. Our honor guard was invited there to participate in the ceremonies and to present his name and him to the wall. For them to go, it's approximately $5,000 estimate, hotel, food, and gas for that week. It's about $5,000 will come out of our travel and mileage expenses, unless you guys would like to try to find someplace else to pay that for, since it is in honor of a fallen officer for the city. But it is within our budget to pay it, so.
Motion to approve the travel.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you.
Chris.
Chris? I'm sorry, Chief Grimm. Did you bring those other travel?
I did not. It's been just hectic with thunder and a lot of stuff, so I've got some time on those, so.
Okay, great.
And then we can also look at the other things we talked about,
Okay.
so. If I can get a list of them, then hopefully we can.
Do it all at once.
Do it all at once.
Does
All right,
anybody,
thanks.
Chief, does anybody in this group that's traveling have, do they have the means to take pictures and stuff to bring back, just to kind of,
Yeah,
I like what
hopefully.
they're doing.
Our honor guards can be pretty busy when they're there. I mean, when they get there, they have to check in Monday. I believe they're leaving Sunday. They have to check in Monday they have somebody who runs. I mean, there's honor guards from all over the country that come and they check in with them and get their assignments for the week. So I'm not really sure if there'll be an extra body there to do it, but we'll see what we can do.
all right, I'm
So,
just checking.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Shane, on Steamboat Days funding.
I've got a PowerPoint too. I know you guys have a long night. If you guys want a presentation, I'll give you one, but if you're familiar with this.
Just so you know, everybody wants out by 9 to get to the game.
Does that mean you don't want to?
It doesn't bother me one way or the other.
I get it for you. I didn't think you wanted me to just come ask for money and not present something, so.
All the time you're watching.
What would that be?
We can make it quick, and if you want, I mean, I can just go off this handout that I gave you, and I think everybody's sort of familiar with the project that we're talking about. Well,
Can we at least put something up so the audience knows what we're talking about?
okay.
I've got some extra copies here.
Here's some extra candy if you need one.
right, ready to go? Try to be quick. So I'm here to talk about Steamboat Days Festival 2014. I think we all know the cultural significance of the boat building industry to Jeffersonville. Just sort of got this slide on here, sort of some context. Basically, it started in 1819. Of course, we've got James Howard, started building steamboats here. Real driver of the economy over the years, and today Jeff Boat remains one of the largest inland shipbuilders in the United States. So once upon a time there was a festival called Steamboat Days. You Google it, you can't find much on it online. Basically, you see a lot of new stuff that's saying Steamboat Days is coming back, but all I could find was this little blurb off Wikipedia under Old Jeffersonville Historic District that said the now defunct Steamboat Days Festival held on the second weekend in September used to be held on Spring Street and the waterfront. So as far as trying to find some history of the festival, that's all I could find, but everybody sort of said, you know, it was popular, a lot of people went to it, and then towards the end it started to go downhill with quality of vendors and some of the crowds and stuff, so the city stopped hosting it. So now we have the Centennial Festival of Riverboats, which is a little bit in question. We can talk about that some if you want towards the end. But the intent was to celebrate the Belle of Louisville's 100-year anniversary. It's going to be at Louisville's Waterfront Park. They estimated 300,000 visitors from around the world, and as many as 11 steamboats that were going to converge all on the Ohio between Jeffersonville, Clarksville, New Albany, and the city of Louisville. I think this is pretty much what they're trying to go for, this whole like tall stacks type of festival that you have in Cincinnati, Ohio, where you've got the spectacle of all these boats and people taking rides and concerts and food and all this kind of stuff. So the Parks Authority appointed a committee, 625-2013, to sort of plan and oversee and advise putting this festival together. So we started meeting shortly after that. We're meeting once a month. We're now meeting bi-monthly. And here's sort of the subcommittees that have broken out underneath there with the committee structure. I'm responsible for the arts and authors, doing a little bit of everything. We've got a Natalie, I don't remember her last name. She was fairly new to the group, that's organizing a beauty pageant. Sarah Schutz is doing entertainment. Paul Northern is doing the kids area. Claudia from Choices is doing the luncheon along with Jay Ellis, Main Street. Rick Levin is in charge of the parade, and Josh Rodriguez is partnering with the YMCA on a run and a walk, 10K run and a family walk.
And not to interrupt you, but is Mike still doing the fishing tournament?
It's to be announced. I don't know. He hasn't been to. I've got a slide on some of the activities or a little bit more detail, but he hasn't been to the last few meetings, so I don't know for sure if he's going to do that or not. I can't answer that question, unfortunately. One of the real challenges right off the bat that we were faced with was trying to change the image of the festival that went downhill, and make sure that it was different and better than before. So we really wanted to sort of get rid of that carny and flea market sort of stereotype and make it more of a cultural and arts event. So we're having a juried art village. We're making it more difficult for vendors to actually show up and sell stuff. Not that we want to make it difficult, but we want to have quality arts. And I met with several artists that go to these shows, and they said if we have to compete with people that are selling refurbished furniture while I'm trying to sell, handcrafted glasswork, then it just doesn't work. And they won't come, and they won't come back. So we're going to have juried arts. We're going to mix up the entertainment with a mix of, right now, rock, bluegrass, and symphony music. We hope to expand on that a little bit more. We want to do a strong visual arts component with demonstrating art that can actually even turn into public art. And the children's area, we want to sort of modernize that. We want it to be like physically active with like zip line and rock wall and some of that stuff. We initially had a huge footprint, and we pared it down to this area. I won't go over all the details there. I've given you a map, that map for your reference. But essentially, we're looking at, 3 city blocks plus Big Four Station. Of course, River Stage would be the main entertainment area. The red dots or the red stars would be where we could possibly have demonstrating artists sort of out in the streets doing stuff so the crowd can interact with them. I built a website for this, if you guys haven't been to it. I'm not a website builder, but we did not have a budget and we needed a website, so I built one. It's at jeffsteamboatdays.com. It's got the map, it's got some information for sponsors, contact information. We'll have lineup as well as, for the entertainment, as well as the Explore tab has downtown merchants listed, so hopefully the people that are coming over to visit, or even whoever's coming down, has an opportunity to go see some of our other things besides just the vendors that we have out there. So for the entertainment on Friday night, we've got, in my opinion, the best bluegrass band in the region playing, 23 String Band. And then on Saturday night closing, we've got the Legal Crashers, which is apparently the local favorite. I haven't seen them myself, but everyone speaks pretty highly of them. Demonstrating artists that we're looking at right now. Well, let me back up. We want to do more live entertainment, but we need to get through the funding phase before we make any more commitments to anything. We're already sort of committed to these two, and I don't think we want to go any further with anything else until we've got the funding squared away. Demonstrating artists, I'm talking to blacksmiths that could actually do blacksmithing and make bike racks in the crowd, and then we could take them and put them somewhere in the city. Glass blowing for people to come up and blow their own objects. Murals for people to watch. We could hang them on the flood wall or building, depending on what we wanted to do. And stone carving, got some stone carvers that said they can come make a time capsule, and people can come and actually chisel on the rock and help make the time capsule, and then we could put whatever we want in the time capsule and put it in the park or wherever. And then we also had some preliminary discussions with metal foundries and some boat building workshops. For the events, beauty pageant is the one event that's sort of in front, and I think that's so you can get people to be in the parade, and that's on September 20th. Thursday is the luncheon from 12 to 2. Saturday would be the 10K and the walk from 8 to 11. Saturday would also be the parade from 11 to 12. And the fishing tournament, I still need more details on. We're not in a position to really promote that, I don't think, at this point, until we've got a little bit more clarity on who's the sponsor, and I just don't have a lot of details on it, so I can't talk on that at all. Proposed budget is based on Smoking on the River in 2013, and my a little bit blurry, but we're right at about $78,400, and that's just for pretty much doing the basics of what we just covered. That's what our proposed budget is. We've had various individuals working on fundraising. Some have been more successful than others, but we've put together this presenting sponsorship levels to go out and work with people. We've got a professional ask letter that's been out. It's been sent to quite a few people. So at this time, this is what has been verbally committed except for City Council. Last month, I went to UEZ just to see if they would be remotely interested in sponsoring us, and they said yes, that they would be, but they wanted to give us a $20,000 sponsorship, and they would do it with the condition that redevelopment gave $20,000 and City Council also gave $20,000. Next, I went to redevelopment. They said yes, they wanted to do it on the condition that City Council also pitched in $20,000. So it wasn't my idea. I didn't mean to create
You're pinching us, aren't you? I see how.
Yeah, underhanded.
Yeah, it's a hustle.
I didn't approach UEZ with that, but the person that suggested that also made a $5,000 donation to this, so he's putting his money where his mouth is. So if we could get city council to agree to do the match, then we would have 60 of what we need. That would get us, assuming that we get all of our verbal commitments to come in, that would pretty much get us right under what our current proposed budget is. I would hope that the committee would continue to try to do some fundraising and bump that number up a little bit, so we could maybe go after some larger regional entertainment acts and add more activities for folks if we can.
Can you talk about a little bit what's going on in Louisville about the
That was
situation?
what I was going to ask too.
What I know, and Jim Epperson he took over for Jim Keith at Tourism. We've been talking a little bit. He called me Friday, and he was concerned that the worst case scenario that it could be canceled in Louisville altogether. We don't think that's going to happen, but he said worst case scenario. What if it happens? He asked if we could extend this festival by 2 days. Could we add a Wednesday, Thursday to it? So basically, we've got hotel rooms booked. We've got motor coaches already booked. We've got some steamboats that already have cruises that are booked that are going to be here. So if Louisville's festival doesn't go off, we actually stand to benefit, even if they scale back, by having things going on over here. I called Jim this afternoon, and he said there's a meeting tonight at Waterfront. He thinks that, politics are at play, large sums of money are going on, and he thinks that there's some pressure being put back on Waterfront Development Corporation to make the festival happen. If their funding's cut, I don't know how they can do it to the scale if they wanted to do it. But we just don't have the details on that yet, and that's basically about all that I know.
Shane, will some of this cost will be offset by the selling of pins? Are we selling
Yes,
pins
we are.
that maybe help some way?
I'm not exactly certain on how that would work.
We've talked about it in the committee. Most of the committee members are for selling the pins.
I'm just saying there could be somewhat of a, I don't know how much.
Well, we approved that at Parks.
We approved that at Parks for them to go ahead and do that.
And then there's also registration fees for the beauty pageant, I know that, and there's supposed to be registration fees, but we don't have much information on the
Fishing
fishing
tournament,
tournament.
there's some for the booth, there's some registration fees there.
Well, the good thing would be is if you had some seed money for next year.
Mm-hmm.
If you were able to meet your budget demand, took what you got this year, you have a year under your belt, you know what you're going to...
Exactly, and the problems that we have, just so you all know, is that we got behind on the 8 ball on this one, on asking for donations, because we should have done it last year during their budget, when different corporations were making their budgets. So this year they're giving, and then in the fall, we're going to ask them to give again for the next year. So it's like a double dipping, and I don't know how many in our economic environment are going to be willing to do that. So anything that and I talked to Paul about this, that we can put back, try to stick to our budget as much as possible, and then use that money as a seed money for next year.
I think, to me, I fully support trying to bring back the steamboat days. Now we have so much more to offer, and kind of like with the ice rink, I said I would support that at least one more year when the Big Four is open. It wasn't open, so that didn't matter, but in this case, I would support, I'll make the motion so we can move on, to approve $20,000 from gaming.
You want?
Well, yeah, we already were
We
advertising
already
for
did
10.
10.
Are you asking for 20 more, or for 10?
No,
total
of 20.
Total of 20.
I'll make a motion to approve 10 more, totaling 20, to be taken from gaming.
Has that been advertised yet?
It's actually a transfer.
Okay, I was going to check it.
Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I would just say, I don't know how this came under your hat to wear to help lead out on this. I know there's a committee that's involved, but...
I'm not sure how Shane got this either.
Well, I
You're
want to
doing a good job.
I want to say thank you, Shane, for
Yeah.
taking
Thank
this
you.
on, and the arts and all, and you're doing a wonderful
I'm going to
job.
give you a certificate.
Hold on,
I'll sign it real quick.
Thanks.
Call question.
Any other, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Unfinished business, Scott Lewis. Ordinance amending,
I think you got one more to...
oh, I'm sorry.
President, I apologize for the short notice. I had sent out an email to the council, and it was late this afternoon, 3:30. I had talked to Ms. Sellers about it and Brian this morning. It's involving Thunder overtime. Bruce had talked to Paul this morning, Paul Northern from the Parks Department, and last year we were able to use the Thunder budget item that the Parks Department holds to utilize to staff the incident command post with personnel, and then paid for the overtime for the personnel of fire that were on the boat and the engines. I know Paul had said this year that I think the Parks Authority had advised him that not to use those funds for that. So I was coming tonight to ask to use those funds or to make you guys aware of, last year, our overtime budget was the same as it is this year. We're trying to manage that. It started at 200, but we cut it back to 180 last year, and that's where we started this year. But we also were able to use that money, $13,000 and some change from Parks for Thunder last year, and not going to be able to use it this year. But I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the council and see if that was something that you guys wanted to allow us to do this year, or at a minimum make you guys aware that the overtime that we're using, we used from a different source last year.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have that is actually non-reverting fund, the Thunder Committee non-reverting fund that was established in 2009. And it was never to pay salaries out of, and I have it before us. It was for permit fees, security badges, office supplies, etc. So it's very specific about what it can be used for. I don't know how it was used or why it got used last year, but I also looked after I spoke with Eric, I called Ms. Conlon, and she said in the, what is this called, 1782 form for this year, they have $15,000 in their overtime budget for Thunder. Did you know that?
We do.
You do?
You do.
I'm looking at it right here.
$15,000 with your regular overtime being $165. And what I explained to Mr. Hedrick was that, or Chief Hedrick, I'm sorry, was that we've never denied overtime whenever they've come to us and needed overtime, so that at the end of the year they need more overtime monies. That should not be an issue. But right now, to me, it doesn't seem to be really a pressing matter. Plus the fact that you already have it budgeted in the $15,000. And then on the, let me see if I can find it.
And I apologize, I don't run my budget, and I know there's a bunch of different ways to run those reports. We talked about that Friday. I don't show that being itemized out, but I'm sure that it is.
And
Could you break that out for him and get him a copy of that for the fire department?
the 17th, and then also, it's also, the 1732 form has the Thunder budget also broken down, like 918 for social, 9,000 for supplies, 7,400 for Thunder services, and then general 12,000. So
Is that in the Parks Fund? Okay.
that's in the Parks. That was in the Parks Fund.
Okay, that part was. I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the council.
Are we using the same amount of personnel that we used last year for this year? I mean, is that the plan?
Yes, but the rate is actually less in the calculation of the rates, about 30% decrease, so the rate should be less. I mean, just overall overtime rate has come down this year
Okay.
from the contract.
And last year, did we have people on the boat last year, I assume?
Yeah, now this year, that's going to be questionable on the river conditions. Right now, it doesn't look too good to be on the water. But I think we still have to have maybe a response there in case someone gets in the water, but hopefully they won't.
Well, the Coast Guard will be there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think the Coast Guard and DNR may be there with some units. That's all I really had. I had just one other thing that Bruce had mentioned to me back there is, again, just bringing the council up to speed, is truck repair, costly truck repair that we're in the middle of doing now on truck 45. All the injectors went out. We do have the budget to spend for that. We're just going to pay for it out of truck repairs, unless the council thought that is an expense to pay for out of Lloyd or something else. But
How much is it?
it's between 8 and 10. He hasn't got 1,000 is the budget or the estimate right now.
What do you have in your budget for truck repair?
What do we have in there annually?
Oh, yeah.
I was just gonna look at
You
it.
just wanted to mention that.
I'm sorry.
All right, any questions? Nope, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. I had you on the copy page of that budget.
Oh,
Thanks, everything out.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
You have it with us, you're gonna...
She just gave it in your packet.
Mr. Lewis, has anything changed on the, it doesn't look like anything's changed.
No, we passed the first reading last meeting, and to refresh everyone's memory, it was amending current ordinance to prohibit vending during thunder and 600 block of residents.
Make the motion to pass on the second and third reading.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye. 2 opposed.
6-2.
6-2. 3.
3 you opposed.
No, 5-3.
So that would be 5.
5-3.
Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilperson Smith,
Yes.
Councilperson Zastavny,
No.
Councilperson Sellers. No. Council Vice President Gill,
Yes.
Council President Julius,
No.
Councilperson Glover,
Yes.
Councilperson Owen,
Yes.
Councilperson Sammy.
Yes.
Is Kim still here? Yes.
Yeah, she's in the back.
Kim Calabro, ordinance amending 2014 OR1, fixing salaries for City of Jeff. Passed on first and second.
Yes, I apologize for not being here last month, and in reading the minutes from last month, I guess I want to make a clarification just so that you know, and I'm thinking maybe I miscommunicated when you and I met prior to that meeting, Dennis, but this particular person in this position, going from an AA1 to an AA2, is not at the max. They're close to the max, but they're about $1,500 off what that max would be. And in the meeting minutes, I think it was indicated that the person was also maxed out in the new pay grade. So I just want to make sure that, for clarification purposes, that you knew that.
So they're not currently at their max, or they won't be at their max?
They are at their max in the pay grade right now.
But
This
after the
position is
change,
going
they
to a
won't.
pay grade 2, and they're about $1,800 off the max. This is also a 42-year employee, not 42 years of age, 42 years of service. So, which actually, I was explaining to Dennis, back about 4 years ago, before we had the formalized pay grades, there was a switch. 2 department heads switched employees. This person actually kind of got downgraded by virtue of the switch. So really, technically, the person probably who would have had the pay grade systems in place at that time, it probably would have been a move that probably was not appropriate. So with that being said, I just want to make sure that when you and I met, I think I was trying to explain all that to you, and I probably miscommunicated that, but this individual is not at the maximum pay grade when that,
Okay.
when we move
Was there
this.
any other change other
No,
than that?
no.
Motion to approve on third.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you.
Amy, an ordinance of additional appropriation. We need to open a public hearing. Hearing's open.
Anybody want to talk?
Yes.
Do we have anybody here to speak on 2014 OR 13?
Which is additional appropriation.
An ordinance of additional appropriation. If not, we can close the hearing. Okay, Amy?
Okay. No changes, just requesting third and final approval.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion?
Well, it just shows it's been passed on the first reading, so we would have to pass it on the second and third
Second and third.
if we want to make it final.
So moved.
I have a question.
My second. Be a second and third.
I have a question. Is this to advertise, or is this to go ahead and appropriate the money?
To
It was
appropriate.
advertised,
Because did we ever vote on Code Red? I mean, were we going to talk more about Code Red?
I thought we only passed that on first and second,
The code red?
or first.
Just passed over the
It
first.
just says first.
You passed the sole appropriation for the last meeting. Well, I'm talking about the thing to go ahead and do code red, because I know Mr. Councilperson Sasavni had some questions. So does this mean if this passes, we're going to go ahead and get involved with code red? That's what I'm asking.
I'm glad you brought that up.
The budget will be approved if
Yeah, I'm not going to support the code red, and I think Ed made a good point too, is short term I would, but I think if you all remember, this was for a 4-year contract. And right now, with all the apps that we have on our phones, there's so much information out there available now for free. I just don't know if the $15,000 is worth that. A short term, maybe a 2-year contract, to see where we're at. But 4-year contract, I think, right now, anything you want pretty much free, so.
I was thinking that we asked him to bring that back with the cost for a 2-year.
Do you want to pull code red off?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Yeah, pull code red off then, if you don't mind.
So you want to make a motion with pulling code red off?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Is that what you're wanting to do?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Well, I think we need to discuss it more. Do what? Oh, is he still here? I can't see it. Took my
You
glasses
can pass
off.
this on the second reading.
Oh,
But I think what are the appropriate, there's
I think the appropriate procedure, the intent is to remove that and do a motion to amend.
a motion to amend.
Right.
The ordinance to remove the code red appropriation.
Correct.
Then you vote on that. Then you vote on the amendment, then you vote on the actual ordinance.
did you check on what it was for 2 years, the price for 2 years for the code red?
I did not. Mostly because not a good idea. Either not do it or do it.
Okay.
Because if people get dependent on this, it is not a good practice to then pull that. It's like telling people we're not going to have the sirens anymore because we want to see what it costs in 2 years. It's not a good practice. Once people get dependent on this to get messages, I depend on getting code red messages when there's warnings in Louisville. I know when my son's school is in lockdown, that message is not coming through, then people are not going to be happy. So after 2 years, you don't want to pull that. It's something that I said in that meeting, that you got to think strategic long-term. This is not something you do and then pull and then do it again. Not a good idea to do it. When it comes to emergency management and disaster communication, you don't want to do 2-year type stuff. So, either way,
thinking was that if it goes well, it would be extended. I mean, if it seems that there was a value, and people are using it, there's no reason why you can't do another 2-year contract or extend a 4-year contract.
yeah, I guess my point is that you need to think about it, that you want to do this. Now, in 2 years, if you saw that, no, they're not providing good service, then yeah, we won't do it. But the idea is that we're going to continue doing this unless there's real legitimate good reason why we can do it. We don't want to do it and then say, well, we don't want to do it now.
Well, I think when you had talked about it, I think it would depend on us getting the people to buy into this.
Right.
We have to internally manage this, sell this, whatever it takes to get the.
Yes, sir.
And I think our neighboring community has this, and it's used very little.
Yes.
And that's their fault. I'm not.
Yeah,
Okay, I
absolutely.
understand that. Now, my concern is, with all the free stuff that's out there today, with all the apps that's out there today, and I think Ed had touched on this, so the next 2 to 4 years, technology is going to take us where, and I don't want to commit 4 years into this, knowing that I've got most stuff now, and I don't know where it's going, so, I mean, I understand about the safety part of it, but it's all out there right now, just about, so that's just my opinion.
Well, and it is true that the data and information is always available. It's not the question whether the information is available. The question is it being packaged in a right way and delivered to the right people? I don't need to know that there's a tornado in Arizona. Yeah, there's an app that tells me there's a tornado in Arizona. I don't need that. I need to know what block in Jefferson could potentially be affected. That information being packaged and marketed the right way is not available. And those kind of services are not generally free. I mean, somebody has to do all that gridding, the geomapping, that part is not free. Yeah, there are weather maps, of course, you can have, but it's not the same thing,
Amir, I have a question.
Yes.
We were just talking about, over the weekend when we got some heavy rain, it was late at night, a lot of us had an alert pop up, watch for flash flooding in your
About
area.
2:30 in the morning on
Yes.
Friday, maybe.
Where did that come from?
We didn't sign up for anything.
No idea.
That would probably be, I don't know if it was the National Weather Service or who, but somebody's pushing alerts out.
National Weather Service sometimes does that. I don't know if you have something that you signed up for. I signed up for a lot of those kind of things myself. But obviously, National Weather Service, for example, during Tornado Henryville, send out messages, but most people don't realize that there's 2-minute blocks of time. So as they send multiples of messages, it was a 10-minute lapse before the message got out, actually, through the National Weather Service. So there are those issues that exist when you say, well, okay, National Weather Service does that. That's true, National Weather Service sends multiples of messages out, but each one of those is apparently in a 2-minute block, so they back up.
Do they normally not tell you where they came from? Because there was nothing on there. There was nothing. I had no idea if it was National Weather Service.
Mine, Code Red, came from Louisville. It was obviously, it says Code Red, City of Louisville.
Yeah.
And I got that, obviously.
Amir, it was mentioned earlier about 2 years, and then I thought I heard you say, well, if you don't do it for 4, don't do it.
Not just 4 years. I want to say,
I think once it's implemented, this has to be carried out, because if you get, it's just like the National Broadcasting Service. If you don't hear that buzz on your phone or on your TV, and you're used to hearing that when there's a thunderstorm warning, and you take it away just arbitrarily, that's what you've been dependent on since, what, the 50s?
Yeah, honestly, I think you are going to get questioned about that if we go into something today and say, well, we're going to do it for 2 years. And like I said, the reason has to be catastrophic for you all to say we won't do it. And financial catastrophic would be really the only cause for you to say.
And I think Ed's point is technology is changing so fast.
Yes.
In 2 years, it might be 3.
Yeah,
There might be a service out there that is, I don't know, Amir,
and that's fine. We can do a 2-year if it's just a matter of just doing a 2-year. They said it'll be a little bit, they said it'll be a lot more expensive, but,
see, when Councilperson Smith said that, I'm trying to be formal here with everybody tonight, not on such a personal level, I know. People don't use the code, I don't know if that's true or not, I have no idea what goes on, in Louisville, people use it or not, but then you just said, well, if we get it, then we need to keep it forever. Well, I don't like to keep programs that don't work, but I also don't like to be criticized that we got rid of something because this is safety, and now the council's doing away with something that nobody uses, but...
I think everybody has to do their job.
Well, but if people don't want to use it, they don't have to, how do people don't want to sign up for it if they don't want to use it.
Well, first we have to do our due diligence and get it out there.
Right,
Yes,
I understand
first.
that.
And then our neighbor hasn't done a very good job, but
Right.
they're paying the money for that. And then you can sign up, and then it goes from there.
I understand.
But I don't want to start something that I can't finish, and I think that, at some point, I don't see this, I'm not that impressed with this for the money, is all I'm saying.
Can I say one thing, and I know I'm not on the council, but I have Code Red on my phone, and I've had it for a while. Saturday night, when you all got the alert at 2:30, I got the alert from Code Red first, before I got anything from the National Weather Service, WHAS, or WAVE, and there was at least a 3-minute lag on those alerts. And I know a flash flood warning is one thing, but if there's a tornado coming in, 2 minutes can make a big difference. Or if there is a chemical spill.
Oh, there's an active shooter in a school.
Well, that brings up a good point. Have we approached the school board for their buy-in to this program? Because if that information is going to have to come from the school board to Code Red to be broadcast,
yes.
Have we approached them to have
The
some
school
dog in the
system,
fight on that?
My understanding is uses some of the school systems. I don't know what the school system in Clark County uses, but apparently they use Blackboard a lot of places.
Then we have competing notifications. If we've got Blackboard and we've got Code Red.
Yeah, and that would be the redundancy actually in the system. I'm a big redundancy person, and so you have to look at, if you have Blackboard, is there a failure in that? And then you have another system. I'm pushing the Clark County government actually to start utilizing this, because there's nothing right now to communicate with the citizens. The earthquake that we had in South America, the life saved was credited to the SMS messaging, the mass communication nationally that they have. So, that's the systems,
And what you're saying is, when we talked about this the other day, I know this is a more in-depth system than reverse 911, but we don't have any type of capabilities now in our dispatching system to do something on even a smaller level?
I do not think so. No.
That would be a good question with the 911 consolidating now. That would be a good
They
question.
will not have that on there.
To follow up on. They do control the sirens, which is, for the most part, countywide. But that would be a good question.
Well, I support...
The 911 will not have that capability. I'm currently on their operations board, and they do not have, they chose the
They don't
software.
have it, but they've got the finances to pay for it.
Oh, okay, yeah. They did, and they looked at two different options apparently, and one of those options would have given them a limited capability to send messages out, and for some reason they decided to go with what they're going with now, I think. And this system that they chose to go with does not have that capability. So.
I was just going to add that I support Code Red. I think it's vital information that gets to our constituents. It's not just weather-related. It's if we have to shelter in place for some kind of gas leak, chemical spill, anything like that, Amber Alert, Senior Alert. That information, I sat in all the meetings, and it's just unbelievable, the information that gets like that to our constituents, so. Had that.
I think, at least what I think I heard, to try to pull us all, bring us home, can you come back with a 2-year price?
Sure.
And then we can vote that up or
No
down?
problem.
Also, I'm going to bring it up at our 911 meeting. I know I'm not part of the operations, but if something that vital, if it's necessary, you're not going to be able to control it within the city limits. It's going to be spread out, so the finances ought to be spread out among the county.
Yes.
And you'd almost want to, if you've got that good of a system, you almost want to implement it countywide.
Oh, absolutely.
Just will be paying for it.
And I think with the LOIT money, which actually pays for the 911 system, eventually it'll pay the whole thing. This would be a small amount for countywide.
City of Louisville pays in the tune of $150,000 for the city. So, it's based on the population, so that gives us some idea of where, we would be going if it was a countywide system, and what our portion would be then. I imagine our portion will be a lot more than $15,000, but, I don't know.
Yeah, but it would be paid for out of the LOIT money.
We're already paying.
Well, this is already going to be paid out of that, so.
I'll just make a motion, I guess, to, at this time, pull the red Code Red out, amend.
Ordinance 2014-1113.
Okay. Remove that, and then he'll get some information on a 2-year, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about the consolidation and see if we can expand on that. I think it'd be a good thing to do. That's just my opinion, I guess.
We have a second? Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Then I'll make a motion to approve 2014 OR 13 as amended.
Second.
13 or 14?
13. 2014.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, Amy, an ordinance transferring certain funds within the same department, passed on the first reading.
Yes, I would like to ask for this ordinance to be amended. We have 3 new items at the bottom that weren't on the first reading. The gaming of $200,000. We had budgeted that originally under equipment, and we're asking to transfer that to the transfer outline because that typically is used to support some of the parks functions. The disbursement wouldn't happen until probably October when we get that revenue in from gaming. The second item that has no amount is the $20,000 that you approved for the steamboat budget. And the third item is $3,000 for the building commission, taken out of their equipment and moved to the training. They wanted to offer that to their new employee they just hired a couple weeks ago.
Make a motion to amend 2014 OR 14 as described.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Now, do we have to,
Yeah, I have to approve it.
we can approve on the final
Second, third.
motion to approve 2014 OR 14 as amended on the second and third reading.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Less interlocal agreements. Table it.
So moved.
Second. Is that okay with you, Vicki, if we table it? Okay. All right, new business. John Kraft.
We need to vote on tabling that. There's a motion in a second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Mr. Kraft?
Yes, John Kraft, Young, Lind, Anderson Kraft, 126 West Spring Street in New Albany. Here this evening, just preliminarily, I have presented to Ms. Conlon a petition to vacate public roadway, and let me just briefly just give you a little bit of an idea. One of the things that's going to happen is when you look at the text of the actual request to vacate, you're going to see that what we're asking to vacate is Woodland Court. And if you, this is a plat that was platted actually in 1941. The property itself is located across 62 from what I would say is the Gray and Wells Body Shop now. There is currently a street that is known as Woodland Court. And Woodland Court actually is reflected on this plat as Dorsey Avenue. So I don't want people to get confused and look at the fact, well, you're asking to vacate a road that is an improved roadway that exists. Dorsey Avenue is improved, but it is, according to Board of Public Works, Dorsey Avenue was changed to Woodland Court, and Woodland Drive that we are requesting to be vacated is an unimproved roadway in a plat from 1941. I represent the estate of Thomas Osborne, which is the owner of this real estate, as a result of being the owner of the surrounding properties, with the exception of two individuals that have lots within that portion that is platted. The estate owns all of that real estate. Overall, what our request would be, and the legal descriptions were written by David Blankenbaker. The first portion of Woodland would be 1.14 acres. The second portion of Woodland would be 1.41 acres. We, of course, would have to have a public hearing on this, but normally, as be the case with your council, it's not out of the ordinary to preliminarily present this to you to answer any questions you may have before we ultimately present it in a public hearing and give the appropriate notices. Yes, ma'am.
Because this is within my district, and it's kind of confusing because as soon as I heard Woodland Court, because that's a whole road that's utilized I do not want any confusion here. And already you've got me confused because you said Woodland Court. I don't want to make any kind of motion or something, vacate Woodland Court, and then there'd be some sort of confusion.
No, we're asking that Woodland Drive be, and again, that's part of the reason why I wanted to touch on that, is the fact that Woodland Drive is what we're requesting to be vacated. The road that currently exists, and that's the reason why I wanted to present it, because to clear the confusion, if you look at the street sign on 62, you're going to see a street sign that says Woodland Court. That is not what we're vacating. Woodland Court actually, according to the plat, in 1941, was known as Dorsey Avenue. But as I understand from the Board of Public Works, Dorsey Avenue was changed to Woodland Court.
And
So-
Woodland Drive currently is gravel, correct?
Pardon?
Woodland Drive now currently is gravel?
Not even gravel.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It is, if you look directly across from Gray and Wells, you're going to see a great deal of vacant property.
Okay.
And that great deal of vacant property ultimately is what would be Woodland Drive and the plat, the 1941 plat.
This would be between what is, we know as Woodland Court and Renfro Way. So it really doesn't even exist. It's just that.
Where's the
that piece of
park?
wood.
It says park.
Well, there is no park.
This plat is from 1941 that he's showing.
And there's no house.
All this stuff just exists on
On a piece of paper.
There's nothing out.
Is this near where the old Phelps's body shop was?
Go ahead and identify yourself. I do have representatives of the estate here with me.
My name is John Fletcher. My wife is co-executor on the estate. On the plat that's up there,
Oh, where's it at?
properties number 1, 2, and part of 31 was the old
Okay,
body shop.
gotcha.
And then upstairs, I'm pretty sure in the zoning office,
Arby's.
on one of their plats, there is a notation that the Board of Public Works renamed Woodland Drive from the plat to Dorsey Avenue when those names were switched, but we can't find any record of it anywhere other than just handwritten on that plat that the Board of Public Works changed that street name. So,
And we're vacating that 60-foot width? Yes, it would be that 60-foot width up to the portion where it would be the southeastern end of Woodland at the end of 38. It picks back up then at the beginning of 39, and then runs the distance all the way to the end of the property that is owned by the estate. None of that is improved.
Matt, can I see the picture?
Like directly across from Arby's.
right there.
Right there, that's correct.
Oh, gotcha.
The Woodland Court that you're seeing on the phone, that is what is shown on that plat is Dorsey Avenue. That's where the confusion comes in, because when it was originally platted, that was reflected as Dorsey, and Woodland Drive would be, looking at the screen, would be to your right of Woodland Court, but it's no longer, there is no road that exists there, as you can see.
Does the same people own all this whole property from Woodland?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's, of course, the reason why we're requesting the vacation. There are only 2 property owners that touch this, and they are named in the petition, and they will be given notice for the public hearing to appear. They do not use any portion of a Woodland Drive as it relates to their access to their property.
So there's nothing.
What lots did you say those two owners own?
Would be 39 and
39 is one of them, and then if you were to continue those numbers, it would be 41, even though it's not on that plat. And then there is another lot next to that, which, if you wanted to continue those numbers, would be 42, which is also owned by the estate. And then adjacent to 42, there's a creek, a drainage ditch, if you will, and then behind that is the Woodland Point, or Liberty Point subdivision. So, according to Mr. Blankenbaker, when he did the survey, Woodland Drive continues on through Liberty Point subdivision. There's houses back there and other streets, so maybe it was vacated at some point, but no one can find any ordinance that says it was ever vacated.
So the actual current Woodland Court, which is Dorsey, where would it curve and go by, is it between 38 and 39?
Between 38 and 39.
Right. Gotcha.
A little corner of 30 has been removed.
Okay, I
And
see
it
it.
curves there around what was supposed to be a park at one point, and then cuts back into Woodland.
So there's 2 owners that adjoin this entire drive.
correct.
There is all the other parcels except for these 39, 41, and 42. That's one party, the other party is yourself, correct?
It'd be the estate.
The estate,
Yes. And part of the reason, again, why you have 2 separate descriptions on the property is, as was indicated, that road does go through
currently from Dorsey all the way up through. So we're only vacating Woodland Drive to the end of 38, picking it up at 39, and then running to the end of the property line.
Unless I assume if we vacate this, it reverts back to the original owner?
The current adjacent owners.
And the estate also owns part of what is on there is the park adjacent to that road.
Procedurally, what do we,
It says discussion only.
Correct. We'll do the advertising and yes.
One thing I suggest that I always like to advise on any certification of, just to have our city engineer look over, because I know back in that area, there's different drainage and sewer projects. You may have to read this property, I just want to double check to make sure that there's no drainage or sewer easements that are going through there that we don't need.
Understand.
Other than that, that's my only recommendation.
And the only thing I guess would be that once that's accomplished, then if you can let me know so we know then on what agenda, on what meeting we will be for public hearing. Certainly.
City engineer, just look over, make sure it's a conflict with any drainage or sewer improvements.
And again, we're here tonight preliminarily. Again, I know everybody probably wants to watch some kind of ball game tonight. I don't have my red on, so. Any questions, any further questions for me? No. I'll just wait to hear from Mr. Lewis as it relates to the engineer in order to then schedule it for the public hearing.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Joe LaRocca from the YMCA to discuss the community outdoor walking trail. And I think Bill Barber's with him. I sent you all an email out on this, I don't know, a couple
But
weeks
we
ago.
have no idea anything about it.
I know, that's why Joe's here.
Thank you for having me on. My name is Joe LaRocca. I'm the CEO of the YMCA of Southern Indiana, and have with me Bill Barber, who's a member of our Y board. And also, probably some of you know Bill with this insurance company downtown, Jeff, across from Nahan Fieldhouse. I'm here about a Y project. Really, it's been in the works for many years, and some of you maybe date back to a little bit of that. It's a property out at the Y that the back property behind the building has been more or less a park over the years. At one point, we had an agreement, matter of fact, with the city, and I think that was about the time that you were annexing the meadows, maybe, and something of that sort. But we put in the playground. We have 3 ball fields. And then the city, when I think Rob Ways was mayor and maybe Ron Grims was on the city council, built the sidewalks that came out there, so it made it very accessible for the people in the meadows who at one time really didn't have accessibility to the Y property there. So we did that. A major issue that property always faced was the water table was very close to the surface. We had a lot of problem with drainage. And then a few years ago, again, we worked with the city and Jesse Ballou, and we were able to take that water that sat in between us a lot, between the Meadows subdivision and the Y, and take that off the property, go onto the back, and they made kind of a swale back there. And then I think it was Kerry Stemler, built more of a berm, which made it kind of nice in the back of it. That way, when kids were playing t-ball or something of that sort, parents could sit up on the berm and that kind of thing. One thing that it really did was help make the property a little drier, so it wasn't sitting on water all the time. And many years ago, it had a cinder track around it, but it kept washing away. So now we have the ability to really build more of a walking path around there. And our thought was, with that really being one of the largest housing subdivisions really in the county, from what I understand, well over 1,500 homes back there, that it would make a nice little park area to get people active. We have the sidewalks, but to be able to come to that property where they could walk to that property and then walk around it. We would have some little interest areas and those kind of things. We have an original, or an estimate, if you will, from Bobby Libbs with AML, which I guess you're probably familiar with. He's doing the police station, and he's also on our Y board. And he estimated it would run about $30,000 total. And we're looking at a couple other grant options that are out there for us. So we're trying to piece a few things together to see if we can finally kind of put this thing together and maybe kind of complete that area. We'd get somewhere between a half mile to a quarter to a half a mile, somewhere in that area of a walking path. And of course, being on that property, just like the fields and the playground, it would be open to anybody. There's no membership or anything to the Y required for that. So, anyways, that's why we're here this evening, and we'd like you to consider a grant of... Yeah, I said it was going to run about 30, and we would like you to consider a grant of $10,000 towards the project.
One of the things that we've been wanting to do for a long time out there, the one piece that we're missing to the Clark County Y is the walking trail. We don't have one indoors, of course, so it's kind of what we need to bring it in all together. We feel like it would serve not only that 1,500 households out there, but the entire city. We're kind of, we have parent park in one part of it, and we really have nothing out there, so that's why we're asking for $10,000.
Well, since this is my district, and I actually live right next door to the Y, and I wish you would have called me.
It happened so quick, Connie.
I could have, maybe, because our neighborhood association, we meet in the Y, and I could have asked them about it, and we could have had some support here for that. I mean, he's right, there's no place, there's no parks, there's no place for the people in the meadow. I think when we went through the parks that one night, I was the only council person who had no parks in my,
This is your opportunity.
this is it. This is all we've got.
I apologize, Connie. I should have talked to you about that. But, just being right there adjacent, I can remember those kids getting on bikes and trying to ride down Hamburg Pike when there wasn't anything to get to that particular area. And it's not like they're necessarily using the Y, but they did play on the property. So.
Right, and people do like to walk in our neighborhood. They're out all the time. This would just be an added benefit, but...
So this would actually bring them between the Y and the meadows back into the back part of...
Yeah, you can't get through, unless, you can't cut through the neighborhood, because there's houses that back up.
Sidewalk,
Right.
On Hamburg Pike.
And then they could walk down and walk up.
With the YMCA being a nonprofit, it's okay for us to improve their property?
It's a nonprofit, 501c3.
Yes.
Just wanted to double check, so that it would be okay.
We can't grant money to a for-profit
Right.
corporation. It's 501c3.
And the Y is the owner of the property? Question is not...
Yes, we are. At one time, there was a little piece on there with the city, and then that all got changed back out.
Where are you planning on getting your other $20,000?
We have a couple other sources, never take two people in the room back here. They don't know this yet. No, a couple years ago, the YMCA got a grant through the Robert Woods Johnson Foundation to convene a group whose focus was on making our community more healthy. And so we convened a group, and you may have read in the paper recently where that group then issued some grants out into the community to make some areas more walkable and accessible, targeting Clark County based on Robert Woods Johnson studies of ranking counties in terms of their health. And Clark County was kind of in the middle of the pack. We weren't last, but we certainly weren't first. So anyways, and some of that the city of Jeff has received back too, in terms of like the master plan for bikeability and walkability, that kind of thing. So anyways, that is one little source. And then there's another foundation that does some matching, and there's a possibility of that. And then some of the other vendors we're working with, we're going to approach them as well for some in-kind kind of work.
Do we have money, how much money do we have in the gaming or in special projects? Sorry.
While she's looking that up, Joe, what's your timeline?
Nathan, we don't have a timeline. We just saw this as an opportunity with these other two sources that have a cutoff date. And so we just started piecing some things together.
Put a contingency on there.
Because
They don't pay it till they get their...
my only concern is any other not-for-profit in the area. We kind of started not doing it. I see a lot of value in this. I see the benefit, but to be asked to make a decision in just a matter of a couple minutes, I would rather try to think it through and have, that's why I asked the time.
All right.
And, maybe whether we address it at Parks or if we do it here, that's fine. But maybe bring it
Might
up
be
at our
more
next
appropriate for
meeting.
Parks.
I don't know.
And I might add, Nathan, of course, I'm executive of a not-for-profit. We're not here asking you for any kind of operational support, that kind of thing. This is totally capital that our thought was it would then give back to the community, so it strengthens the community in that sense. So that's really what.
No, and one of the things is that helps me a lot is being a director of a not-for-profit. If we wanted a path around our campus, that would be wonderful, but we wouldn't want to open up to the public. And you're saying, this is for public use, so that helps. I mean, that gets me
people
beyond.
already there who come in.
Right.
It's just like driving by Wilson School, they get that beautiful playground, people are coming from all over to play on that playground.
I just want to be able to think it through, because there's some others locally, not-for-profits, that will be knocking on our door.
I understand.
You know that. You know that. I just want to think it through. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I
So,
support it too.
We can put it on the agenda.
Well, maybe we should put it on because this is more of a Parks, so maybe we should put it on our next Parks meeting coming up this month. So, let's do that.
I would encourage us to do that.
If you need us to attend anything
Up
else,
like a
just let
Parks
us know.
meeting? or
Our Parks
anything?
meeting is the fourth Monday of the month. I can't remember.
Do you have a sketch or anything of it yet?
I don't, I can get that together, Bobby can pull that together for us. I
I'm
haven't
not
looked
sure
at
if
it.
it's necessary that you actually come to the meeting. If we just have the information, we get it. I think we get it.
Okay,
Save you time, but.
Fine.
I will get that done.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, appreciate it.
Okay, Scott Lewis, Ohio Greenway Memorial and Monument Policy.
I'm gonna pass it down. I'm not asking for any action tonight.
Or money.
I just put this on the agenda. It came to my attention that, I think it was Shauna Graff from the Ohio River Greenway Development Commission. It brought to the attention that apparently she says that over the years, apparently Jeffersonville should have adopted the permanent memorials, monuments, and public art policy of the Ohio River Greenway Development Commission, which is being passed out to you. Apparently, I think she says that Clarksville, New Albany have adopted this particular policy. And I think to continue to make sure that they get the proper funding and so forth, this is some requirement that we're going to also have to adopt by a resolution. So I'm not asking for any action because I want you all to digest this. But this is apparently is a policy that they passed in 2008. There was an assumption that somehow this may have been passed back in 2008. I know I've worked with Vicki, the clerk, to try to go back through all of our records. Apparently, this has never been adopted or approved. So just to let you know, though, without going through all this quickly tonight, I want you to digest this for the next meeting. By adopting this, what you're saying is, if we do a resolution, what you're going to be saying is that all city-owned property within this Ohio River Greenway boundaries then has to go through this process for any sort of memorials, monuments, or public art, where basically that it have to be submitted to the Ohio River Greenway Development Commission's committee, and they have their own procedures set forth in here on approving any monuments, memorials, or public art. So it's something to consider. According to Shauna Graff, this is something that we're required to do for them to continue to get funding. But just to let you know, by adopting this, it's going to kind of conflict with some existing resolution in the Public Arts Committee that we have about that process. So,
Yeah, and not only that, you're handing over a lot of the authority of the property that the city owns.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but according to Shauna Graff and this Ohio River Development Commission, they're saying that all of the local communities as part of the Greenway, they're saying they have to adopt this for them to continue being eligible to receive various grants and funding from the state for this particular project. But I wanted to pass this out, and before we take action, I wanted to let you know you are kind of ceding authority. If you go ahead and adopt this policy, you're ceding authority.
We
to
know
the
the actual boundary lines or parameters.
I've asked for that. I know there's some of you, I can't remember, some of you were privy to a 20-something email that went forth, and I was asking for that information from
I mean, if it
Shauna
goes,
Graff.
let's say, from Riverside Drive.
I agree. I've not seen any
down to the
boundaries.
river, then really that doesn't, yeah.
I've asked for some specific plats or maps, and I've not received any, and I know some of you were privy to those emails. I think it's kind of confusing as far as what specific property comprises the Greenway. I've never seen anything
specific or detailed, but Shawna has pushed to get this on the agenda. I told her I would get it on the agenda, pass out the policy for your all's review, consideration, and discussion.
Well, I'll make a comment. If we go for this, somehow I would ask Scott that you see how we might be able to blend that with our public art, because we have the public art policy in Jeff established, and then also push back and say, we need to know exactly what would be agreeing to.
Well, we put up a year or two ago a Hannah Tolliver plaque memorial that was put up on the south side of the sidewalk. You know, for example, well, not knowing the perimeters, we would have to go through their process to get that done.
And they would have the final say.
Yes, and maybe they would or would not have allowed it. I don't know, but that would hinder some things. And we've got, on that fence along our river stage, you know, we've got Jeff Little Las Vegas, you know, it's got the history. See, you might not be able to put any of that up. I don't know.
We put the war memorial there, too.
Plantings, what about plantings?
That's the stuff we need to ask Shawna.
Yeah, I thought I would initiate it, get on the agenda, pass out, so you all can review their specific policies.
Move on.
Thanks, Scott.
Last resolution regarding the amendment of the intercity road and economic development. Matching grants for Amatro.
A few weeks ago, the council approved a tax abatement for Amatron for a proposed expansion. At that time, it was brought to the council to anticipate a request to also come before the council to use TIF dollars to assist Amatron in a grant that they're receiving from the state of Indiana. The money from the TIF would go toward the matching portion of the grant. It's a job training grant to assist them in their efforts to expand and become more competitive in the market. At that time, the council did not vote, but there was consensus for myself to move forward in that effort. This is requiring amendment to the economic development plan for the intercity road. The redevelopment commission has approved it. The planning commission has approved it as well as required by state statute. Now it is before the city council. Assuming the city council approves this, it will then go back to the redevelopment commission for a public hearing and final consideration. So I know there are some representatives here, both from Amatron and also from One Southern Indiana, if you have any questions regarding this project, but I believe it was discussed a few weeks ago when you gave the consensus to move forward.
Make a motion to approve 2014 R6.
Second. Sorry. Any other discussion?
Real quick, do I have everything here? It says see attached plan commission order. I don't think I have everything.
If you do not, I will get it for you. They did. I think you do not, because Josh Rodriguez was out of town at the meeting, and we were waiting for him to get back to sign the actual.
I would also just add that Mr. Perkins is here from Amatron, and
yes,
he's sitting there patiently, set the whole meeting, and just I want to give you a shout out or acknowledgement that you're here, and appreciate what you all do.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Zena?
Okay, ordinance changing the zoning map designation of a certain tract of property on 1014 Kehoe Lane.
Did we skip something?
We skipped
Yeah, I think
one.
we first have.
Oh, did I?
Yep, 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ordinance for Armstrong Farms Trust Indenture.
Back in 2000, Armstrong Farm Apartments was developed and built. At that time, there was a bond issued. It's one of those bonds that requires a governmental entity to approve for tax purposes. Technically, the city of Jeffersonville was the issuer of that bond. The borrower was the developer and owner of Armstrong Apartments, and again, that was done in 2000. They are desiring and requesting to rework that deal with the bank. It really has no impact on the city. They're wanting to amend the 2000 agreement to do two things. One is to extend the timing of the payments and the interest payments, and also to rework the schedule for the sinking fund redemption, because if they change the timing of the payments, it changes the schedule for the sinking fund in the event that they would not make their payments. Again, the city is not obligated on this bond, but the city is an issuer and is required to consent to any changes to the arrangement with the bank pursuant to the agreement. In fact, the agreement even says that in all likelihood that the city is obligated to agree to this change because it's not of any substance.
What's the ordinance number on that, Vicki?
15. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
So if there's a default or anything, it does not...
They're the borrower, they're on the hook.
Okay. Thank you.
So this should need 3 readings.
Yes, their legal counsel prepared us why they did an ordinance. Well, I guess technically we need an ordinance because it is a bond, but, well,
I'll
I
just
think
make
you
a
can do a
motion to
resolution,
pass
but they've done an ordinance.
2014 OR 15 on the first and second reading then.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Now, Les.
Okay, the next item is a rezoning matter that comes in front of you upon a favorable recommendation by a 5-0 vote from the Planning Commission. It's in reference to property located at 1014 Keyhole Lane, and the request is to rezone that property from a C1 to an R3. The applicant is here to explain what she's requesting. Summer Packwood is here, and I would also state that this is a public hearing. Ms. Packwood?
I don't want to bore you all. I know some of you all were here at the last meeting, and I went through all the details, so I'm going to do the simple version, and then if you all need more information, just let me know, and I'll let you know. So the property was zoned as C1. It was originally zoned to be an assisted living in 2000 and passed and through the board and zoning and all of that. It ceased to exist for whatever reason. I got the property last year and wanting to go ahead with an assisted living for adults with mental illness. So the proper zoning now would be a R3 with a commitment. And the R3 is more appropriate for the neighborhood. We are in a residential neighborhood.
And planning and zoning concurred with that the R3 is more appropriate for the area, and it came with a favorable recommendation.
Is this in one reading?
Yes.
And it's 16, this comment?
Oh, we gotta have a public hearing.
If anybody wants to say anything.
Is anybody here to speak for or against? Then we close the public hearing.
Motion to approve 2014 OR 16.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Amy Deering. Additional appropriation.
These are 3 items that I believe Chief Hedrick covered in the Finance Committee meeting last Friday for your consideration.
Well, didn't take that on.
Can you give the background of this?
Wait.
Everybody that was at the meeting.
Are you ready, Dennis?
Am I ready?
Yeah.
I'll take care of it.
Okay.
This was, we discussed this at the finance meeting. This was money that we spent last year to be reimbursed. The majority of it, I think 1,000 of it was from the state tree fund, but the majority of this money, $40,000, was for monies that we approved last year for training or whatever purposes for the firefighters, and we were to be reimbursed. And I explained to Eric Chief Hedrick at the finance meeting that these funds should go back into the general fund because we are getting paid back from these. So, I know Connie, Nathan,
Lisa.
I'm sorry,
Lisa.
and Lisa, we were all at the meeting, and I think we all agreed. And, you know, not that we're restricting the chief's training budget or anything else. We're not trying to micromanage it. And I'm sure he's going to have the opportunities to get this same funding in some way, shape, or form this year.
So this money here, this totals here, all of this money is going back to the general fund, not to general fire overtime, general fire, social security,
That's
general
where it
fire
came
training.
Because that's where it came from.
It was
It's just a
extended last
reimbursement.
year.
It's reimbursing the general fund.
It's reimbursing the general fund.
And what did Chief Hedrick want to do with this money?
This right here.
This is where he wanted it put?
Yes.
Yes.
For clarity, for my sake, clarity's sake, the chief was wanting it put back in these three line items, and the finance committee did not want it in these three, just in the general. Is that what we're saying?
Right.
Okay, I just
Because it was reimbursement.
I mean, I remember the conversation, but I was just making sure I understood this.
Do we know what's in the fire training budget right now, what we have left?
We, at the meeting, he said he has enough training dollars, because we asked, he said he could manage the training, but he said it would be nice to have this.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, does it make sense? Well, I know most have already approved that this going back in the general budget, and I understand it was reimbursement for last year, but we've already realized that expenditure. Does it make sense to go ahead and appropriate some of this money now to the fire training budget in anticipation of being used, or?
I think and that's one thing that we told them, that the training, because we were talking about the training and them going out of town or whatever, it has to come back before us anyway. And if we need to appropriate more money, we can appropriate more money. It helps us keep
Keep a handle on it.
a handle on it.
And I don't disagree with you, but the only thing I would say is I would think our reputation precedes us as a council, that once this money goes into general fund, coming back and asking for it the second time is probably going to be a little bit more difficult.
No,
If it's in the-
we've done that. We've appropriated it just about every time anyone, the police or fire, have come and asked us for money.
We might disagree what fund it comes out of.
Well, that may have been a better way to put it. Only reason I'm saying is if you put it some in training now, we still have some control over it, because before that training, or those firefighters released to go to training, they had to come back here for approval for the money, so.
Ms. Collins, do you remember when I came to you and you helped me locate with State Board of Accounts, because we had a similar issue with reimbursement that was given to the building commissioner's office? And we looked it up, I can't remember what the number was, with State Board of Accounts. Reimbursement has to go back where it was taken out of it, to State Board of Accounts. Is that correct?
It already has.
It's already come to the general fund.
No, he hasn't.
No, it
He
has
hasn't.
not.
The check he's still holding, apparently they're still
We
holding it.
deposited the funds
Oh, you have?
back in the general, yes,
Okay.
a few weeks ago.
Right.
Positive March.
Okay, so then that's what I need. Yeah.
So if the funds are already you're saying the funds have already been deposited in the general fund?
Yes,
So this is just
to appropriate, to be able to spend them, is what all this is asking.
Well, I think we just need to wait until it comes that they need the money for the training.
So let's just you want this tabled, or do we even need to act on it?
I don't think it needs to be acted on right now. That's my opinion. Everybody else
And that
has
was the
one.
opinion of the finance committee that we just sent that recommendation on.
Did we find out, what was in your training budget, Chief Hedrick?
25,000 remaining for this year.
I didn't see.
What was
back there?
What was budgeted? What was budgeted?
32,800.
So we've spent 7,000 out of that in the first 3 months?
And there are some budgeted things. One of them, off the top of my head, is the annual fee of Target Solutions is about $7,000. That's due in November. Then there's some other training things that are scheduled. And one of the things we talked about in the finance committee, which is I don't want to take much time, but is the expenses associated with training. It's not just the training budget. actually, the training budget is one of the easier parts of the training. It's the backfill, the overtime that's associated with the training. So, training budget-wise, I am fine. I think that the training budget, the thing is in order to get the people to the training, it really taxes the overtime budget. And as you can see from my plan, majority of that money was going back into the overtime to help get people to the training. So that's the separation of the funds of the 40,000. And what President Julia said is correct. It was a reimbursement from training we attended last year. I don't know if any of you guys made it to the Muscatatuck train in North Vernon. But the state pays for you to go to that training because they don't want it to come out of your training budget from a department because they want people to participate. So it's in addition to your training budget. They say we will pay for that. Unfortunately, it's not instantly. It takes a process to get it back. But instead of saying this is training in lieu of other training, the state wants you to use it in addition to training, and that's why they pick up the bill.
Scott, procedurally, if it's already in where the Finance Committee recommended it went into, do we, because it's on the agenda, do we vote it down? Do we vote on it? Do we table it? Do we?
The debate is it's on the agenda,
Right.
so there needs to be some action, whether you table it, whether you approve it, whether you disagree, there needs to be some action. It's on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve or to vote on with the expectation that it would be voted down, 2014 OR 17. Is that procedurally?
So you're voting to approve.
Yeah, motion to approve it with the expectation that it would be voted down. It might not be.
Just a question. So it was deposited back in the general fund for what reason?
The revenue had to follow the expenditure.
That's the Board of Accounts regulation.
Right. It came out of there, that's go back. Okay.
Close question?
Dennis, we're ready for a vote.
We didn't get a second.
And second.
I'm sorry. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye. I meant to vote opposed.
You voted twice in the
I
summer.
did vote twice. I'm one of those people.
Yes.
No.
Wait a minute now, back.
Wait, you're
Make
confused.
sure what you're voting for.
He made a motion to approve this. If you don't want to approve, then you need to vote no. And
I
this-
want it to stay in the general fund for now,
That'd be
like
no.
the finance committee had suggested, and I want to say, I want, no.
Councilperson Stopney.
No.
Councilperson Sellers.
No.
Councilperson Gill.
No.
Council President Julius.
No.
Councilperson Glover.
Yes.
Councilperson Owen.
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel.
No.
6 noes. So I'm going to pass this around for you all to sign appropriately.
Okay, Les, you're up again. An ordinance adopting the immediate moratorium on billboards and digital signage.
There has been a lot of discussion at the planning and zoning level regarding signage and specifically billboards. And at the last, in speaking with some of the members of the Planning Commission and also with Director Corbin, we thought it'd be best to update our sign ordinance, because we're also looking at updating our comprehensive plan. And it seems logical that if we are going to do that, that we institute some type of moratorium on billboards, digital signs, in the interim. And this is an ordinance that does that. It's a 6-month moratorium on billboards and digital billboards, and also what I term as variable message signs, which is someone's favorite signs, the LED signs, but it would place a moratorium on those.
On any new construction, period?
Any applications that come into planning and zoning for a billboard, a digital billboard, or a variable message sign would not be considered or accepted during this moratorium.
Is there any that's already in the works that this would mess with?
Anything that's currently pending or current, once this takes effect, I don't know if you want to pass it on all three readings tonight or whenever it's signed by the mayor and takes effect. Until then, any applications that are in there they can still be considered. So that may be a reason why you might want to do all three readings.
I would like to do it in all three readings. We're not aware of any applications that are in the process in the near future, but there may be some in the not so near future. But the problem is that it's hard to manage these, and we're not sure what we want to do. I'm talking about planning and zoning in general, planning and zoning and Shane Corbin, the director, how we're going to word and manage the planning and zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan so that we're consistent in what we look at and how we approve these types of signs.
But we already have an ordinance on these signs now, but we're just trying to make it mesh with our comprehensive plan, is what you're trying to say?
And those were written in like 1999 or 2000.
Okay, so there's not been any
It was
update.
before inexpensive digital signs, so it's poorly written.
Okay.
And Shane is going to be working on
Once they start
trying to
comments
revamp
around
the...
I agree with it.
Oh, okay. Does this have a time?
6 months.
6 months.
And it can be extended, but only by council.
At our discretion.
And the concern is if you don't pass in all three readings, somebody might get applications real quick, and then this wouldn't apply to it. Now, I'm not aware of that being the case, but once it gets out there in the public domain, they may have it.
And not only do we have an LED sign issue, because like Ed said, that it's sort of an ad hoc thing. It's someone comes and gets one, someone comes and doesn't get one, and then we've got problems because they're not following the rules that planning and zoning wants them to follow, but also because of the I-65 in the Bridges project, a lot of the billboards are being displaced, and they're wanting to move those billboards, and we're getting requests for billboards to be placed, so.
What's the ordinance number?
18.
I'd like to make a motion in anticipation of passing all three readings, make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
With that, I'd like to make a motion we pass 2013 OR 18 on all three readings.
Second.
I'm sorry, 2014 OR 18.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Bless you.
I got my eye in before that, you know.
You did.
An emphatic eye.
Real quick, before you bring up this one, with the page, the full page for your all signatures, so Mr. Murphy can run up and make another one for you all to sign, or if you all just want to kind of...
I'll sign it that line.
Hurry up, I've got lots of things. I'm going to be mad only tonight. So I'm going to be bad only. I've got a list.
Okay.
We didn't have any public comment? No, sorry. No,
Some of them will go fast.
No comment?
I have comments. First of all, just because Kim Calabro asked me this, and I'm not the full council, I want to make sure it's okay with everyone. On April 25th, they're going to be having a health fair, and she wanted us to take our popcorn machine over, and Paul said that he would be willing to take it over from the Parks Department and use it, and then Lisa and I are going to stand there passing out popcorn at a health fair. But I wanted to make sure it was okay with everyone, is that okay? The other thing is, well, actually I have several. This is for Scott and Les. For the event area for Steamboat Days, we had to do this for Thunder. We had to make an event area by ordinance, and I think that we probably need to do that for Steamboat Days as well, because within that, we were able to keep out certain vendors that we didn't want within the event area. And I think that would be wise to do, because without those legal ramifications, we could have walking vendors, and we would have nothing to stop them for this event, because the walking vendors and all that's only covered under Thunder. So, we need to take care of that before it becomes an issue, just saying. The other thing, and this is for Mr. Merkley, the claims from Pro Media, I've been going going through them, and I've asked Mr. Merkley to check into this with Mr. Williamson. Whenever we know what the $1,750 is for, the VNRs, that's only too obvious, but the other payments, like the $500, which was my suggestion that we tack on so different department heads could have, once a month he'd come in and work with different department heads and he'd help them with their pages. I would like for that to be defined, which department he's worked with that month, how many hours it took, what they changed on the website, just so we make sure that that money's being used to the best of our ability. And also for the web page, I don't know how much it is for the web page, but we need to do that as well, what's been changed on it and what's been updated, so we make sure that it is being done monthly. The other thing is, I don't know if anybody else has had any calls, but this is the month the sewer bills hit with the up percentages. And so I've been getting some phone calls, and then someone sent me the mayor's page because I don't normally read it. But in it, they were talking about the sewer bills, and the mayor told them that the city council is responsible for the sewer bills. And I just wanted to clarify that probably the better answer would have been is that, which is the way I answered my constituents, is this isn't going to be the only rate increase. There's going to be another one next January. So they're going to go up even higher. And then I explained that we have $90 million in bonds to pay back, and it's the sewer users that we have to do this. And it was an unfunded mandate by the EPA, which they understood. And I said, and it's not only hit Jeffersonville, it's Clarksville. I called Lynn Ashak and got all these figures. He said theirs are getting ready to go up between 50 and 75% because they've been received a consent decree about their sewer plant. So they're going to have to replace that. New Albany's already been hit. Louisville's been hit. Anybody that lives near water has been hit with these consent decrees. So, but I would have appreciated if the mayor, since he is chair of the sewer board, if he would have gone into trying to pass the buck to us, just would have said, this is the issue, this is what's going to happen. I sat on the sewer board, I chair the sewer board, and this is why it's being done. And not only that, the sewer board actually brings it to the council, and they make the recommendations, and we approve what they say. But I guess we had a choice. We could have said no to the $90 million, but then we would have received all kinds of fines from the EPA. And the other thing that he said in here, somebody asked about property taxes, and he said that we take care of property taxes, that also we set the property tax, and the city council sets the property tax, and that we don't do, that's our only job. And so, anyway, I talked to Scott about this. We do not, that is set by the state. We do have to approve the levy. But as you know, even if we set the levy, then we get cuts. We've done this for years, and then not only do we get cuts from the levy, then we have to wait for the tax thing that we're waiting on to come in, where we're going to be cut even more, circuit breaker. So just kind of wanted to explain that in case anybody who was on this page is watching. But anyway, that's it.
Is that it?
That's it.
Ms. Gill?
Of course, everybody knows Thunder is this coming weekend, and just everybody be mindful. I know the Jeffersonville Police Department has done a wonderful job of putting tips on their Facebook, and I know the safety directors put a lot of tips. So I just want everybody to have a happy and safe Thunder.
You be careful.
Yeah, I'll be careful.
Brad?
No comment.
Don't blame it on me.
Go Big Blue.
Mr. Singh?
No comment.
What?
Just go with it.
I just have one thing. Les, I guess I would direct this to you. I've been getting quite a few calls about the change in the record service for the city, for the police. The towing service, I call it record service. And I know that the state police has some requirements in proof of insurance and liability insurance and their licensing and so forth. Have we requested any of that?
No, I was not involved in any of that.
Okay. Might be, we just want to make sure that we're covered in all those respects, I would think. I understand.
I'm just, but I will
Yeah.
make sure that they are.
Yeah.
I just assume.
That's one question that I was asked by three different individuals. So, anyway,
I'll follow up with you.
thank you. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And call. Go get your, you feel big right there. I will think,
Can I ask you a few questions?
You can try.
I know you're probably trying to get tip off.
Here, I got two for you first. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know why you voted no for the, ordinance for vendors on 600 block of Riverside Drive.
I just think we're against the timeline, and we're kind of pushing the parks department. It's only going to be for 1 year.
Yeah.
And it looks to me like, I don't think we're going to have time to get them anyway.
Yeah.
But, we ought to, I don't think they're going there.
Right.
If that makes sense.
This year,
This year.
even though, okay, so
I
it was approved,
I know it was.
but I guess what I'm saying is, because, Ed was telling me at the Parks meeting that it doesn't go into effect until 30 days afterwards, so, so it wouldn't really affect this year. But you don't think they'll be vending in that area anyway? No? Why is that?
I just don't think there's enough time.
Okay, I see. So, but this, because it was passed, it'll apply for next year? Or,
I
no?
think
So,
it'll be just this year.
okay.